Hi, this is Debbie and Dr. Rob, and we're here because we want to teach you a little something that may help you if you're feeling stuck.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they're trying to make things happen in their life, and they hit a wall and they just don't know what they're doing wrong. And we hope that this will help clarify maybe what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a simple psychology from the Bhagavad Gita. And if you haven't read the Gita, look it up. It's an incredible book. But these three modes of nature, they're called the Gunas.
Ooh, the Gunas. And we teach this to our clients all the time, and they love it.
Yeah,
really.
It's a funny word. It's Sanskrit, obviously, but what it means is qualities. It's qualities of nature. Now, they also translate as to qualities of the mind.
Ooh, okay. Yes. And
meaning, what state of mind are you in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people have a busy mind. Some people want to have a calm mind. So the Gunas is really a great way, even like emotional mood, you can really talk about. So let's begin. The Gunas, there's 3 levels.
3 levels. The first one is tamas, and that translates as inertia. Meaning there's a heaviness, kind of a solidity to your mindset. Maybe when you feel lethargic, not a lot of movement, not a lot of energy, you're in tamas.
And if you think about that, tamas is, think about a spiral. There's a top to it. The tamas is like you're spiraling down.
Yeah.
You're kind of like those days where maybe you're sick. Mm-hmm. You get a cold and you want to be down. You're exhausted and you want to take a nap and watch Netflix all day.
We've all been there.
Yes. And so, or the end of the day at work, you can go into a tamas state of mind. So it's that lower inertia, not a lot of energy, right before you go to sleep. It's just kind of like a wah-wah, you're just kind of that, very uninspired place almost.
That's a good way to put it. Yes. And the second one,
the second level,
going upward, is rajas. And rajas simply translates as passion and action. So you think about crimes of passion, it's that taking action, but you're kind of chasing your tail. Mm-hmm. You're busy doing a lot of things, but not really focused and not really getting the results that you want.
And so if you think of the tamas and the rajas, that's where actually I would say 99% of the people in the world operate. They go to work, they rush, they're stuffing traffic, they're picking up their kids, they're trying to make it in the business world or studying or whatever. Yeah. And then they get exhausted. On the weekends, they just go into tamas. And then again, they go back. And then think of this in like trying to build a business. If you're trying to build a business or you're trying to succeed in the world, and it just feels like you never stop. And so but you're passionate, you're acting, but it's not tamas where you're just exhausted. But what happens is after a while, you can't keep it up anymore. And then you need tamas to like recharge. It's almost like we need to sleep at night. But tamas isn't sleep. Tamas is just that kind of like, okay, I need to just recharge. And if you actually never go into tamas, if you just stay in rajas all the time, you can actually get ill. I mean, it affects your body. It affects you. People have ulcers. They have heart attacks. And I mean, can be really hard on your body and your mind, and you just don't have that peace of mind.
Right.
So what I see is people, they feel like loss of energy, and then they get inspired, and then they take a lot of action, and then what happens is they don't get the results fast enough, and then they just go back into tamas. And I see this with people trying to date, and then people trying to build a business, people trying to like lose weight, and they're going, trying to do that, and then all of a sudden they stop.
Right. So if you think about rajas, most of the world, like you said, is really based on rajas. Everything created, like the buildings and the cars and all the movement that happens in the modern world, that's rajas. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with it. Obviously, it gives us the material abundance and the creativity that goes on. But there's a third level to the gunas that is really ideal for creativity, for the kind of things that we want to create. Mm-hmm. And that's Satva. And it translates as clarity of mind. That clarity of mind gives you that ability to envision what you want and to stay focused in a clear way. So how have you experienced Satva?
Well, it's really funny because a lot of times I'm a very, as you know, a Rajas person. I'm very passionate. I'm from New Jersey, got the East Coast drive, and what I noticed is that when I'm running and running and running, it's not as effective. After a while, like it's good to get things going, but if I'm not clear, I'm just moving a lot of things, and I feel like I call it rearranging the furniture. You're just kind of moving a lot of things.
Yeah.
And clarity is really, the Sattvic mind is when you just realize who you really are. You realize that you're like a higher self, that connection to your divine intelligence, where I think Sattva and Rajas and Tamas, the lower levels, you're really an ego. You're just trying to get things, you're trying to acquire things, you feel separate from the world. And Sattva is really where you feel this oneness and connection, and it's kind of flowing, and a lot of people call it being in the flow.
Right, it's what people talk about when they talk about being an alpha state, in a meditative, contemplative state, but they're fully aware and awake. Right, it's not a sleepy state. That would be back in tamas. It's a mind of clarity, but alert. And most meditative techniques, that's what they're trying to get you to do. They're trying to get you to create a mind of sattva, so that you can see clearly, so you can think clearly, understand clearly, and focus your attention, your action on the things that you need to create.
Well, and one important thing, I remember when I was doing my spiritual work in my beginning years, I used to think that I just want to be in this clear, bubbly love state. But a lot of people think that's all you need, and then everything's just going to flow to you. You still need action. Sure. And so we want to look at all these levels as that they're all happening, but one predominates. So you're still going to have a little groundedness. Thomas gives us that groundedness, that kind of, it's almost like the solid ground that we are at. The passion can really get us moving, get us excited about life, and taking action. Action's really important. And then the sattvic mind carries us and makes the right action, the right direction. Yeah. And it's less attached, it's less fearful, it's less stressful. It's this flow. So you need all three. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes is that people think, oh, just be in that clear mind and meditate, and then everything's going to show up for me. Right. You have to have action. You have to have the groundedness as well, and you need a time to recharge as well. So tamas isn't bad to recharge, but some people stay stuck there, and then some people stay stuck in that going mode, and then they just get exhausted and fall into tamas. So what you want to do is consciously enter these states. And use them for yourself versus letting yourself go on autopilot and be driven by those states. Absolutely.
Yeah, the idea in the Gita is that these are qualities in nature, but of course our mind, our brain is designed from nature, and therefore these qualities include our mental states. And the more you can identify them and practice creating them at will, the better off you are, obviously.
You know what would be a good metaphor for these three states is water. It has the quality. The tamas is like a frozen quality. It's like kind of stiff, like the water's frozen. And the rajas is kind of the moving water, just like the ocean and the waves. And then the sattva is like the steam. That when the water evaporates and it becomes really light molecules. And so it's like the denseness of the tamas is great, and then the movement of the water, but then it also has that quality. So it's not that the water doesn't change itself. We are the pure self, that's who we are. It's just where are we embodying, how are we channeling our true self in our lives.
Absolutely. So think about these qualities as you go through your day. Are you acting out of that just drive to act without a clear vision? That's rajas. In that state, rajas is predominating. And there's nothing wrong when you have deadlines and when you need to get things done. But you want to back up a little bit and say, can I take action from a sattvic mind, a more tranquil, clear mind?
And I guess a good question would be, what is the urgency? When you feel yourself getting caught up, just ask yourself, what is this urgency? What am I running from? Because inside Rajas, you're kind of running from something.
Yeah.
And you could either be being in action towards something, or you can be in action running from something. And most of the time, people are trying to make money and they're running from lack of money, or they're trying to find love but coming from lack of love. And the Sattvic mind is, I'm going to take action and I'm passionate about it because I'm going to have it.
Yes.
And there's no fear in it. It's almost like I'm going out there and going out and getting it. So again, if you're stuck, I want you to think about, which level am I operating in? Am I just not doing anything, or am I rushing to get things done? Or how can I cultivate the Sattvic mind? And
Sure.
a great way is to ask yourself, what's that urgency? What's driving me? And then if you're in Tamas, a great question is, why isn't there any urgency? Like, what is my passion? What I am passionate about? Oh, and you know what else is a good thing that you teach as well, which I love, is that you can't go from that inertia to Sattva. You know, you always say that.
Right.
So if someone's in that tamas inertia place, what would be the best thing for them to?
The idea is you need to go kind of a stepwise upward movement. So the next level would be your rajas. And the way to do that, like if you're stuck in an atomic pattern, meaning there's not a lot of energy in your life, not a lot of movement, not a lot of things happening, you can't jump to that sattvic clear mind right away. You have to go to creating reachable goals for yourself.
So small, attainable goals,
Yes.
small steps, and then you're kind of like getting it moving, getting
Right.
yourself moving again, and then you can move up to the sattvic. But you can't jump from nothing to clarity. You have to kind of, and I actually think the Raja state is really good to cleanse ourselves from the heaviness of life, and it's like a kind of a purification that happens, and helps us let go of that attachment, so we can have the things we want. The only reason we don't have the things we want is because we don't believe we can have them. And so when you're in that sattvic mind, that clear mind, you have that certainty that you are creating your life. So that's really where we need to go. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's really a great topic. I mean, there's so much we could teach about it, but just a small bite of getting you started on where you're at and how to get unstuck in your life. For more information, come to our website at debbieandrob.com and get some more free tips on how to live the best life you can.
See you next time.
Take care.